Hello, hello. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Sigge. I am so grateful that you are here.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I am very happy to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be a parenting expert?
I think a lot is random and definitely unplanned, but I think that my passion for children, me working with children, understanding children, always loving to be around them, has been there from the very beginning. I was a preschool teacher. I was a camp counselor, like even way before. So somehow I was always attracted to that. I took over. I went back to school because I felt like I needed to do more with my skills, or I wanted to do more in the world. And so I enhanced my education, opened my clinic, which involved a lot of family dynamic and children coming in and working with the families and putting together parenting groups, which felt just like very normal and natural for me to do as I saw that people are wanting it. So this became what it is today, because I think that at some point I realized that what I do on a small scale felt like it needed to be on a bigger scale, because the topics, the issues repeated themselves over and over. And it wasn't because I felt I'm repeating myself. I felt that so many people deal with the exact same things. So how can I reach them on a bigger scale, which is how this all came about. I also love to write. So writing my parenting courses felt very natural and normal. And putting it all together is where we are today. So yeah, and the platform that I can reach a lot of people through.
Yeah, almost 1 million on Instagram, looking to you for advice, because Dr. Sigge, parenting is hard. Is it okay to say that? You're a mother too, right?
Yes, of course. And parenting is very hard, and it never ends in different ways. Maybe I don't take care of my kids today, right? As I did when they were little, but the parenting role, the doubts, the guilt, the concern, right? It never actually ends.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed, I mean, my youngest is 17. I've got 7 kids. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 17. I feel like there are so many resources right now for parents, for better or for worse. Like, it's varying degrees of advice. And I mean, we could debate all day long, like the merits of all the different advice out there on all of the platforms. And it seems like there is especially a lot of advice for younger moms, younger parents with the younger kids. And now that I'm in this phase of life with older kids, young adults and teenagers, I mean, honestly, I thought that I would be an expert myself for having gone through this already so many times. But my 7th child is literally forcing us to start from scratch. Like, everything that worked with our older kids is not working. He has broken the mold, and it has caused us to have to really dig deep and do some very deep, introspective and therapeutic work even. So it's been a especially intense past year, where boundaries especially were just like obliterated, ignored. Just, he craved so much the sense of independence and autonomy, and trying to find a balance there where we can all live harmoniously and give each other what we need has been a huge challenge. So that's kind of the background of where I'm coming from. And I'm so excited to learn from you. But I'm just curious, like, I'm the first to admit that I've made mistakes all along the way. And I sometimes think we look at parenting experts like you with your soothing voice and you're just on point, always saying the right thing. We start to wonder, like, did she ever make a mistake, Sigge? Is there a time where you remember making a mistake that you then learned from? Because I believe that all mistakes lead to growth.
Absolutely. I don't know that I can in real time point the mistake making, but definitely looking back, absolutely. I like that you say the mistakes are really just moments in times where we can't actually see everything. So we focus on one thing, but something else is being missed. That's really what we can see in hindsight. Retrospect gives us a much better spectrum, right, of our visual field. So suddenly we can say, oh yeah, I did that. Oh, but I missed that. And I think that parents today, in the moment that they are working, split in so many different directions, wanting to do the children, are in fear that they are missing something constantly because they're trying to check all the boxes. And so maybe the experience you and I have, we can say 100% some boxes are not going to be checked all the time. And that's actually part of life. And I love that you mentioned how your youngest one is nothing or doesn't match the parenting that you sort of like became used to. And it's almost as if he's saying, oh, you think you already done it all? No, no, no.
Yeah.
And that's his way of being an individual. But I think that even parents of young children struggle to do this shift. I talk to parents of children, maybe they're 13 and 10 or 5 and 4, and they're also recognizing that the children are not the same. So I want to say, you realizing that you have to change something because your child is not raised in the youngest one in the same family that your oldest one was raised in.
It's true.
So much has changed in the surroundings. So much has changed within your own family. You have grown. You are not the same person. And so we learn as we go. And I think one of the things that if we look to support from people like me or anyone else, we want to feel some comfort. We're in this together. It's not perfect. We are making mistakes. I made mistakes 100%. I am still making mistakes as my children are adults and, doing their own thing. I still sometimes feel, oh, I should have said no. I should have not said. So we're human.
I love that you said we're all in this together. I mean, that is literally the spirit of the MomForce. And I think sometimes we can feel like all is lost, like we messed up. There's no going back. I've ruined, or I've missed an opportunity, or I forgot to check that box. But every day is a new day. We can always do better. And I'm especially excited to hear you share your perspective on boundaries, since that was such a difficult thing with my youngest son. And honestly, continues to be a difficult thing. We're trying to learn how to set them and, healthfully reinforce them. So I know that I start to worry about this too. A lot of parents worry that setting boundaries that will maybe seem too strict or push their kids away from them. So how can we reframe boundaries as an act of love rather than something that harms the relationship or separates us in some way?
Right. So I think we first want to break down this whole idea of boundaries and how it fits today or why it's causing so many problems today. I think it starts with the fact that we have, as parents and our children, so many options and opportunities that were not there before. And that means that our children are constantly exposed to so much that we have to say many more no than ever before. You see how it's like one thing leads to another. So much sort of like the buffet of life, right, that we're constantly faced with is causing us to say no. So we feel like we say, no, we can't buy this. No, we can't go there. No, we can't do this. No more cookies, this. And so we got to a point where we fear the word no. And suddenly there's this whole trend of no, you can't say no. It's harmful. Because boundary is really no. Simple as that. Yeah, no. And so I understand parents don't want to say no all the time. But take away boundary from no. First of all, you can say no in many different ways. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Or I bet you know the answer. Or I don't have to say no all day long. I hear myself. It doesn't sound good. But there's nothing wrong with the word no. First of all, I want parents to really reframe that mindset for themselves. I don't want to say no. There's like this fear. There's nothing wrong with no. No really is a boundary of structure, safety, support. It's like the walls and the doors in your house keep you safe. That's what no is. Yeah, no. It's not damaging. We sort of like attach some negative connotation to the fact that I set some boundaries to my children and letting them know that not all is possible at all times.
Yeah. Well, I think we love our kids, right? And we want them to be happy. And so it is my inclination. I'm kind of a yes girl. I want to say yes. I want people to have the experiences they want, but it's a necessary part of parenting to say no. And I'm glad that you acknowledge it. Sometimes it can feel like we're like, no, and we're a Debbie Downer. So maybe there are places that we need to look for other places where we can be more ready to say a yes. What are some other ways that we can, as we're putting into place this safe structure that all children of all ages need, what are some ways that we can give them more autonomy and more opportunity to decide for themselves?
Obviously, depending on their age, right? But the boundary that we create has a lot to do with our ability to make a decision that is based on experience and foresight. We see bigger. And so we are not running every life's decision through our children when they don't have that experience and that foresight. And we sort of like make them decide so many things about themselves that they cannot be responsible for, understand the commitment or the involvement. So think to yourself, literally, almost as if you can make a list. What are some adult decisions and choices I make for my kids? And within that framework, what are choices and decisions that are child-centered, appropriate for children to make? Do you want to go to school today? Yeah, no. Is it bedtime? Think about what shall we have for dinner? I mean, these are big decisions that require not just a want or a moment-to-moment decision making. They require so much more. I mean, I hear, unfortunately, parents even saying, do you want to have a baby brother?
Yeah.
It's not a decision.
It's a big decision to outsource.
Like, what are you offering me? Yeah. A teddy bear? I mean, yeah. So what I'm saying to parents, think to yourself, really the big decisions that require a bigger understanding of life in general, they're yours.
Yeah.
Within it, allow your children that autonomy. And I can say sometimes full autonomy is about emotions. It's not about actions. It's not like, why are you crying? I told you it's bedtime, or stop doing this, or you can feel however you want. That's autonomy and independence. But it doesn't mean you can do whatever you want just because you feel. Yeah. We kind of attach the two of them. We say, you can't do this, so don't be upset about it, or don't be upset because you can't do it. And I'm like, you can feel however you want. That's actually full respect and autonomy without me running every decision by you or trying to change your own emotionality. But still, you can't do everything you want or don't want.
Yeah.
Because
I want to talk more about that, about the emotions and validating the emotions. But first, I had this thought as you were talking, and I was thinking about you have 3 boys, right?
Yes.
With raising your 3 boys and imagining, like, I'm sure they tested your boundaries as well. And I'm wondering, did they ever happen to say something in that struggle of like, you're the meanest mom, or I hate you? I mean, those are things I've heard my kids say to me, and we've seen it in our community. Do you have a phrase or a script that you would use in times like that? First of all, did it ever happen to you? And what's the trick to get through that?
You're not the boss of me is definitely something I heard. Don't tell me what to do. I want to remind everybody that children today are actually even more expressive than my kids were. It's almost like, there's even a generational gap between your youngest and your oldest.
Yeah.
Things constantly are changing. Nowadays, kids are so much more expressive. But yes, I remember my friends' kids. I remember, all around me, children definitely speaking up, no, and I'm not going to do it. And yes, kids say, I hate you, or I'm going to run away. I mean, one of my kids once packed a little bag and pretended to actually run away while they really just hid around the corner of the house, not even. Anyway, yeah, kids try to assert their independence, try to have a voice. They are looking to figure themselves out and the world around them constantly in so many different ways. None of it is wrong. We shouldn't question why they are doing it. We only want to guide them how to express it in a pro-social way, meaning not to be antagonistic, not to be aggressive or violent, even in language. I hate you. You're the worst. Yeah, no, you can say that you're very angry and right now you're having a hard time with me. That's actually perfectly fine. Totally understandable that as people, we definitely step on each other's toes, too close for comfort sometimes, even parents and children. But I hate you is sort of like the message that something's wrong with you rather than right now in our connection, there's a bit of a friction that's very different. So I want to help children learn to stand up for themselves. And I want to tell parents, it's okay if your child not say, I hate you, you're the worst. But if they express their anger, say, I'm very angry at you right now. And I can say, I totally understand. No, it's your fault. No, not really. We can talk about that. Not really my fault. But I understand that right now we're not seeing eye to eye. Do you see how that is so much more communicative, pro-social rather than resentful or aggressive?
Yeah. And that requires a fair amount of emotional regulation on the parent's part. And I do want to talk about that too. But I'm just remembering there was an anonymous post in our MomForce Facebook group by a woman who was describing her 6-year-old and what a lovely, kind, funny, delightful child he is most of the time. But if a boundary comes up that he does not want to respect, he loses his mind, hitting, screaming, scratching. And she says it never happens with anyone else, just with mom and dad. And she's wondering, is this kind of violent reaction normal at that age? Or would you have what advice would you have for her in this situation?
Right. So I would say it's normal. It still doesn't make it okay. And what we want is to look at this child's action as an expression of something that he wants to address, but doesn't know how, and he's still using it or doing it in this very primal, physical kind of way. And so we want to definitely 100% validate how he's feeling while channel the way in which he's expressing it in a very different kind of way. So it would be something like, whoa, not okay, not okay. Do you see how my intonation changes, but there's no blame or guilt? They become very serious and very firm, but really quick and to the point. I'm not going to start lecturing, not okay, and you're hurting, and why, and so on and so forth. I'll just go, whoa, not okay, I'm sorry. Calm your body. But I see. And even my intonation changes when I talk about emotions. I see you very upset. And now they're, no, not with your body. But you can definitely use your words and tell me how upset you are. And now, because he's still young, we can give him language that actually helps him. He's using inappropriate and extreme ways to express himself, but we can give him appropriate language that allows him to express exactly how he feels, because children are extreme and very melodramatic. So we can say, tell me how you're feeling. What does it feel like inside? Is it big like a mountain? Is it, is it like a fire? What is it? And children can gravitate towards this type of language because it speaks to their imagination and it uses the feelings in such a metaphorical kind of way that is very childlike. So I'm not stop doing this and stop being angry and that's not okay. I'm not. I'm only taking the way that this child or other kid or expressing how they're feeling, but then I actually promote them to express themselves in ways that children can and should. And that results in me actually having empathy rather than conflicting with my child. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because tell me how you feel. It's like, I'm right here. I want to hear you. I don't accept everything, but I'm certainly here for you.
Yeah. And that's to your point. Like the one thing that they have full autonomy over is their emotions, like their feelings, like that. They're in charge of those. And I remember when I was first trying to figure out how to parent this youngest child of mine who I adore and love, but just challenged me so much. I was learning about validation and I didn't understand what validation meant. I thought it was like saying it was okay, that the way he was behaving was okay. But what I'm hearing you explain and what I've come to know is that the way he's feeling is okay. I might not feel the same way under the circumstances, but his feelings are his. And just giving space for that and even like restating what I hear him expressing, that like brings the temperature down, right? Because no one likes to feel like we are misunderstood, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's like, I get you is one of the greatest feelings anybody can feel, right? And you're absolutely right. This is not about turning off how they're feeling, but this is just about guiding, mentoring, showing them there are appropriate and social, emotional, right ways to express how I feel without me turning you into my enemy. And now that's a conflict. Well, I actually need you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Dr. Sigge, as you are sharing these things with me, it's easy to imagine us showing up as our best selves when we're outside of an emotional situation, right? When the stakes are lower. Right now, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I would validate and reflect how he's feeling and be cool-headed about it. But the reality is often our kids know how to push our buttons. And I am surprised, maybe it's the red hair, but I can go from 0 to 60 and I can't even see straight. And often just tears come shooting out of my eyes because I'm an emotional person too. And that's an emotional reaction that I have. But you often talk about the importance of parents regulating their own emotions. So why is that so critical when setting limits and boundaries with kids? And how do we actually do that in the heat of the moment?
So children create chaos because they live in such sort of like chaos themselves, because they live moment to moment to moment, and there's no regulation there. We actually cannot be in the same kind of chaos as children emotionally or mentally, but it still is a learning process for all of us. And so as parents, we still need to learn absolutely to regulate ourselves. But what we need to do is constantly remind them I'm not the child that my child is, even though it's triggering almost the same exact emotions. It's almost like the adult in me has to kind of constantly keep this mentorship, this sort of like guide for me. Okay, I'm the adult. I'm the adult. I'm the adult. And what it means is not I'm oppressing my thoughts or feelings. I'm not denying or ignoring. I'm not giving myself 100% at all times. Once again, I'm still learning. I just need to know that me and my child are not the same. And the fact that you are here as a mentor, as a guide, as, the one that allows or helps your child come out of their chaos rather than leap into the chaos with them. Like, what? Like all that is very important. So keep working on it. Remember, when we have children, most of us are young. So we're still growing as well. It's kind of like,
true.
Yeah. I mean, if we had children at a much later age, now I have so much experience and better regulation, but we're still young. Parents, remember, you are learning, you're working. While you're raising your child, you are also raising yourself. Just remember, you and your child are not the same. That's the most important.
Yeah. And when my kids were younger, I would sense, oh, I need space. And I could put them in their room and put them on a timeout or put them in the high chair or like create distance. But I found with some of my older kids, I'm trying to give distance and they keep following me. But mom, but why? But why? And I'm like, I need a time out. Like I need space. I need to take a pause. I need to take a deep breath. And that's okay, right? To just keep that's like a physical boundary. I'll go lock myself in my bathroom sometimes and just to create a little bit of space for me to gather my thoughts.
To take a break, because parenting or children, it's relentless. It's constant and it's very intense. You so much have to be there for someone else that it's hard for you to recognize sometimes what's going on with you in a more coherent way. Right. So you get sucked in to the emotions as well. It's very difficult, I know. So whatever you can do to every once in a while, set boundaries, even in this kind of way. It's not that you're harming your children, rejecting or abandoning them. You are modeling for them that we are all in this together, but this is life. It's sometimes, difficult, challenging, messy. This is real life. It's okay.
Yeah. And when I think about why I can be so triggered, in part, it is because it is relentless. Like motherhood, I've got 7 kids. They all have a lot of questions and a lot of needs. And every single day I have to decide what we're all eating and I work. And it's like, I'm tired. And so I might not have the stamina, late in the night to solve this one problem. But often I think the emotion comes in like feeling like I'm losing control or afraid of what this is going to lead to. I have learned through the 30 years that I have been parenting that my expectations for how my kids are going to behave very rarely does it pan out. And that can be a blow to my ego, right? So there's like that, there's just a lot of, I think for me, help in being introspective and realizing why did that trigger me and kind of do the work to like pull that apart. Like, it's okay. He doesn't have to see everything exactly the way I see it. He doesn't have to show up exactly the way I would choose to have him show up. Any strategies for helping other parents who feel that same struggle?
When especially, I will just add, because I think what you said is wonderful. And by the way, 7 children, that's like really amazing, Vanessa. And Thanks. I think all the parents, yes, of course, but all the parents out there can kind of like, bow to you and go, wow, this is amazing. I'm just going to add that the fact that your children don't always understand what is really going on outside of their own sort of like self-centeredness. And we try so hard for them to see us, to understand us, and they really can't. That adds a lot of times to the frustration and the resentment or the conflicts that are going on. Can't you see? And you need to, and I am also. And I mean, sometimes we're not realizing that language just adds so much more stress and actually doesn't really help because we are leaning on our children to sort of like be there for us. Every once in a while, one of them can come. I love you, mommy. Are you okay? I mean, we do get these moments. But for the most part, they can't. They're not our caretakers. So think to yourself, not say that. Just understand that when you are saying it, it's not actually helping you or them or the situation. It's not.
Just can't make it about me. I think that's when I get the most frustrated, when I make it about me and how I feel like you're disrespecting me and you're disappointing me and you're making my life harder. Then that makes it harder for me to regulate myself and be the parent that they need me to be in that moment. So
very
beautiful
true.
reminder.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about the times where I have lost my cool and the ways that I've attempted to repair. We had this thing in our family when my kids were younger called the do-over that I instituted for my kids when I saw them misbehaving. And I'd be like, that's not how we react. I'll give you a do-over. And then they started calling the do-over on me. Like, Mom, that wasn't a very nice thing to say. And I was like, oh, you're right. Okay. Nothing like a kid to like call you out. But do you have any tips for people who, have lost their cool and ways to repair and rebuild trust and connection?
Yes. when you can, I love that. In the moment, you don't have to drag that, that's it. We're not talking, this is upsetting. And now maybe you even start lecturing about how hurtful or harmful and so on and so forth. Try to stop yourself and kind of go, the moment is done, be done. And now a new moment, because with children actually it works really well. When we try to unleash all this knowledge and information by lecturing to them how they're supposed to behave, it's lost on them. We don't have their attention. But action actually speaks way louder. So it's like, whoa, hey, can't talk to me this way. And now instead of me, you're disrespectful and this, and I'm not, like all that. You can't talk to me this way. You can talk to me. Go ahead. Think of a better way of saying it right now. Come on. No, still not okay. Keep working on it. You say practice. It's like training, right? In the moment. We're not talking about how to work my muscles. We are working our muscles. That's what this, redo, I think, is serving. And I think it's beautiful and wonderful. And parents can use it when they are sometimes, or instead of them taking it too far into themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, want to think, okay, it's not about me. I know it's hard, but it really isn't about me. I'm here for them. I'm here to help them. Yeah. I can help myself still in other ways and other times, not right here with my children.
Yeah. And I like looking at it as just an isolated moment and that there's another moment in the future. And honestly, it helps me to sometimes look at moments in the past. Like one of the things that I do when I'm starting to feel like overwhelmed and discouraged and like, oh my gosh, this is not working out, is I will look back at old photos or old family videos of times, where everything seemed great and we were happy. And I know that there's this beautiful, big, complicated arc of our family story. And yeah, we have our ups and downs, but there's always bright moments in the future. And so that's another strategy that I like to use. And I'm wondering, we hear so often from our chat books families that for them too, looking back on old photos together helps them feel more connection. It helps their kids feel more seen and part of something bigger. What is your take on how storytelling shapes a child's emotional development? And is there a story from your childhood that, helped you feel especially connected and secure?
To my children or just to myself?
Oh, even to you growing up. Yeah. Was there something from your childhood that it was like a family story or part of your family history that helped you, know who you were and what you were capable of and that you were part of this family, that sense of belonging?
Yeah, so I think I love that. And I think that storytelling is very important and very crucial. And it is part of us humans. We are all storytellers. We love to reminisce. We love to talk about memories. Nowadays, we have so much record of our memories, right? It's not just here a picture, there a picture in an album. It's a lot of it. So yeah, discussing it, talking about it, having like family night or a family dinner and just kind of chatting about, remember this, or what do you remember from that? Because we all also tell a story differently.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I know from my childhood is that maybe when there were times, and sometimes it happens when there's actually difficulties and challenges within the family structure, is that we each take something else from the experience. And then our memory is really very personal or subjective, which makes us feel very alone. And so it's kind of like, well, remember that mom or dad or when? No, that never happened. That's not true. No, it didn't happen this way. So I think that what you're saying is, yes, talk about these maybe moments in time, even when something didn't actually work out. And it's not about aligning and comparing the story so we were all there in the same way and all took the same thing from it, but actually recognizing that maybe we all took something else from it, a very different experience. And that shows the diversity in the family in a safe way. so we can talk about it rather than argue about it, right? Like, really? Oh, that's how you remember? Uh-huh. Because maybe I was younger or I was older or I understood more or less and so on, or my personality, right? And when you have more than one child, they are definitely perceiving the story, the experience differently, and then also telling it differently.
Yeah, I love that. I've honestly never thought of how personal the stories can be, and that can be a way of honoring diversity in the family. I've been so focused on creating this overarching family narrative that we all buy into, because I want everyone on the same page. But if one thing that I've learned so clearly as my kids have all grown up is they are not all the same, and they all have varying and differing points of view and experiences, and back down to like the same experience that we all had at that moment with this photo. We were all there, but we can all experience it differently. And that's okay. That's honoring that autonomy of emotion. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that and teaching me that. All right. One last question. Last year, the U.S. Surgeon General issued a warning about rising stress levels among parents, calling it a public health crisis. So I'd love to get your take on it. What do you think is contributing to this, and how can parents manage stress while still showing up for their kids?
Yeah. And I remember that, and I talked about it a lot, and it's very true. And I think lots of parents recognize it. Anxiety is the trend, right? We're all in this. And I think we are mainly overwhelmed and don't always know how to sort the amount of to do, to have, to be, right, to feel. All of it is too much. And really only what we want to do is not necessarily avoid it all or criticize and judge it all. Just learn to sort it better, to know where we stand, and when it's overwhelming, to ask how to balance ourselves. So instead of never this or no that, or we are avoiding, right? A lot of extremes actually create anxiety. I am never doing this, and my kids will not. And think of moderation, balance. What is equilibrium? What is grounding? It's solid. It's there. It's not teetering or, too much of this, not enough of that. And I think that is one way to help ourselves with this, navigating the anxieties and finding our grounding.
When you were talking about it all being too much, I thought of TikTok, for example. So I don't hardly ever get on TikTok, but I know the younger generation, they do. These young moms, my daughter had a baby last year, and, all of a sudden they know you had a baby. So they're sending you endless streams of content about feeding and weaning and diapering and burping, and it's all conflicting with each other. Any advice on managing this thing that could be a great tool? Like, I actually learn really interesting things from social media sometimes, but it can be too much. How do you decide what's valid and what's not going to help you?
Notice if, anxiety is something that we all have, but notice if your stress and anxiety is raised when you are being fed sort of this type of content, because it means that the content is not causing you anxiety. It's triggering your anxiety and raising it to another level. So what we want is to watch how we are feeling when we're scrolling through all the content. Is it bringing me comfort? Is it putting me on edge? Is it making me confused and now I need to buy it all or buy none of it, or I don't want it, or I want, or I feel this, or wait, this is very confusing. The content is supposed to, if I think knowledge and information is comforting, and it actually should make me feel more grounded and solid, but it's doing the exact opposite, maybe I need to take a pause. It's more like that. So notice how the content is making you feel. I sometimes tell kids, or even young, people scrolling through social media, I say, at what point you can tell that it's becoming depressive, defeating, disheartening, scary even, can you notice that? Are you mindful enough to know how it's affecting you? So it's not that it's all bad. It's all of it is not necessary. It's not about the quantity. It's about seeking quality.
Yeah. And you're one of those voices, I have to say, like literally your voice is so calming, your demeanor, the way that you teach, you are a bright light on social media. And I'm so grateful for what you're sharing. And anyone who doesn't follow Dr. Sigge Cohen, get on right now and follow Dr. Sigge. So good. All right, there's one last thing that I wanted to say. As you were talking about that, I was thinking about, what was it? I just lost it. You were talking about, as you know, we've been talking about the importance of validating emotions and helping kids learn that they can own their emotions. They are autonomous over that. That sets them up for when they're older and they have a cell phone to be able to recognize those feelings that you were describing, the feelings of overwhelm and sadness or whatever it is that are the warning signs that maybe it's time to turn off the phone or look at something else. That if we don't let them, give them room to identify with their emotions and own their emotions as children, as adults, they're going to be numbing out and feeling more and more anxiety and dysregulation. So what are ways that we can allow our kids to kind of take healthy, safe risks to exercise their independence and build their confidence that will also keep them safe?
Yeah. It's a very big question. And I know that if you are a parent of a young child, it's very different than if you're a parent of a teenager, where your mind takes you, right? So what are some risks for young children is, they're out there in the schoolyard and they come back with ideas, language. So, that suddenly, surprises you. And you try to control that. Where did you learn it? That's not okay, and so on and so forth. So let's start by knowing that our children are going to go out there into the world from a very young age. And that means that they will be exposed to a lot of things. Try to be open-minded rather than judgmental and immediately scared about what your children are learning out there. Of course, they're going to learn so many things out there, but also know your child is not a passive learner. Your child picks and chooses. It's almost like the storytelling from, the experience. It's how subjective it is. Your child, all children hear all sorts of stuff and they're not all taking the same thing from it. So look at your child. If they're coming back with foul language, if they're attracted or tempted, even as older kids, to break more rules or to try and take more risks, look at them and see what they actually need. And is there a way to help them get what they need? Dominance, autonomy, independence, power, control, in positive ways. There are many ways to notice who your child is, and rather than try and stop them from being who they are, channel it to a healthy way. So why does your child, don't drink and don't do this and all that? Let's be honest. We all know our children are exposed to so much out there. What is attracting you to that? Why do you think you need that? Do you know what makes you want to be like everyone else? When you are in this situation, what are some of the decisions you want to make for yourself? Or what are some of the feelings that come up? Are you scared to be left out and so on? Do you see that I'm not talking about don't do this? They all know what they're not supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I'm actually helping them be more mindful, more thoughtful about the influence that is out there, right? And if there's anything I can send them to the world there with, is better toolbox for them to navigate all that will be challenging and sometimes risky.
Yeah, that's a great point. They are facing risk every time they leave our homes. Yes. Literally, every time they open a device, a computer, a cell phone, they're facing risky stuff. So
right.
Having
and
those
another
conversations.
Thing, one other thing about it is that children from a young age and even teenagers obviously have a lot of misconceptions. When you keep an open mind, you allow them to run a lot of, I'm not saying that they tell us everything, but you allow some openness where they can come and say, so and so, or this is happening, or, I want or I don't. And you can have a conversation rather than, what? What are you saying? What
Right.
did you, don't close the door just because it's scary. I know it's scary, but keep the door open, keep the conversation open-ended, because this is your way of not avoiding or eliminating the risks out there, but really equipping them much better to manage the risks out there.
Especially as my kids have gotten older, I find that if I can assume the best and not freak out and just be curious, and as soon as they feel defensive of something, like I'm accusing them of something, or I think they can't handle something, then they shut down, then they withdraw. But keeping those open lines of communications open, so important. I love that reminder. So what are ways that we can allow our kids to kind of take healthy, safe risks to exercise their independence and build their confidence that will also keep them safe?
Yeah. It's a very big question. And I know that if you are a parent of a young child, it's very different than if you're a parent of a teenager, where your mind takes you, right? So what are some risks for young children is, they're out there in the schoolyard and they come back with ideas, language. So, that suddenly surprises you. And you try to control that. Where did you learn it? That's not okay, and so on and so forth. So let's start by knowing that our children are going to go out there into the world from a very young age. And that means that they will be exposed to a lot of things. Try to be open-minded rather than judgmental and immediately scared about what your children are learning out there. Of course, they're going to learn so many things out there, but also know your child is not a passive learner. Your child picks and chooses. It's almost like the storytelling from, the experience. It's very, how subjective it is. Your child, all children hear all sorts of stuff and they're not all taking the same thing from it. So look at your child. If they're coming back with foul language, if they're attracted or tempted, even as older kids, to break more rules or to try and take more risks, look at them and see what they actually need. And is there a way to help them get what they need? Dominance, autonomy, independence, power, control, in positive ways. There are many ways to notice who your child is, and rather than try and stop them from being who they are, channel it to a healthy way. So why does your child, don't drink and don't do this and all that? Let's be honest. We all know our children are exposed to so much out there. What is attracting you to that? Why do you think you need that? Do you know what makes you want to be like everyone else? When you are in this situation, what are some of the decisions you want to make for yourself? Or what are some of the feelings that come up? Are you scared to be left out and so on? Do you see that I'm not talking about don't do this? They all know what they're not supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I'm actually helping them be more mindful, more thoughtful about the influence that is out there, right? And if there's anything I can send them to the world out there with, is better toolbox for them to navigate all that will be challenging and sometimes risky.
Yeah, that's a great point. They are facing risk every time they leave our homes. Yes. Literally, every time they open a device, a computer, a cell phone, they're facing risky stuff. So
right.
Having
and
those
another
conversations.
Thing, one other thing about it is that children from a young age, and even teenagers obviously, have a lot of misconceptions. When you keep an open mind, you allow them to run a lot of, I'm not saying that they tell us everything, but you allow some openness where they can come and say, so-and-so, or this is happening, or, I want, or I don't. And you can have a conversation rather than, what? What are you saying? What did you, don't close the door just because it's scary. I know it's scary, but keep the door open, keep the conversation open-ended, because this is your way of not avoiding or eliminating the risks out there, but really equipping them much better to manage the risks out there.
Especially as my kids have gotten older, I find that if I can assume the best and not freak out and just be curious, and as soon as they feel defensive of something, like I'm accusing them of something, or I think they can't handle something, then they shut down, then they withdraw. But keeping those open lines of communications open, so important. I love that reminder. I can see how it all fits together. It's not super easy to do, but I'm grateful for people like you who keep coaching us and cheering us on as we go along.
Thank you so much. And yes, people can get a lot of my tips and information, right, by going to the social media or the courses that are out there that can help them kind of find a little bit more that solid or comforting rather than, scary and judgmental tips. Yeah.
We'll link all of that into our show notes too. Thank you so much for being part of our MomForce.